What's up, everyone? Hey, it's 3 o'clock and I am live. I did a show this morning. We did do one this weekend, and I was watching some stuff on the news and reading some stuff that kind of got me a little irritated. So I just figured I would kind of come on and spend a few minutes explaining something. Okay, this is military related. So I'm watching the news, and I read this story, first I read it, then I watch it, on television, watch some different versions of it, and this is exactly what I was talking about the other day, last week. This is a story about the Navy. It's about the Secretary of Defense firing the Secretary of the Navy. Okay, this matters to me only because I only give a crap about this story because it has to do with a man by the name of Eddy Gallagher, Chief Gallagher. If you don't know who Eddy Gallagher is, then you probably don't give two craps about this session right here. Okay, but Eddy Gallagher is a Navy SEAL who was accused by some members of his team of war crimes against ISIS, against an ISIS fighter. Give me 1 second here before I go off on this stuff. I'm going to try to keep my profanity down. All right. And first of all, I want to give a disclaimer. My comments about this situation don't mean much, because nobody's comments means much if you're outside of that grid square. Now, what I mean by that is Chief Gallagher is a Navy SEAL. All right. I've never been with the SEAL teams. I've never been in the Navy. Okay? I've never even been in the Navy. So, what I'm about to say, it may not mean much, but that's kind of the point I'm about to make here, is about what we all about what everybody running their mouth about stuff, especially about stuff that we don't know anything about. But let me give you the rundown and why this matters to me. Chief Gallagher was a former Marine. He joined the Navy. I believe he was with the same Marine regiment I was in. Okay, around the same time I was in. I believe he was with 2nd Marines, maybe 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong about the regiment, but I'm almost certain he was an East Coast Marine. And, I'm sorry, maybe not a Marine. He was a Marine, or he was a corpsman. I'm not really sure. I think he was a Marine, because I'm almost positive that he went to Scout Sniper School. So unless we let a corpsman go to Scout Sniper School, he was a Marine, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Either he was in the Marine Corps and got out and joined the Navy, but either as a corpsman or as a Marine, he was stationed on the East Coast. Somebody can Google that and make sure I'm not crazy on that. It doesn't really have anything to do with the point, though. The point is that Chief Gallagher is a Navy SEAL, and during his time fighting ISIS, and the guy's got over 20 years of war fighting, and I want people to understand something about our war fighters. I should have done this on Friday, but I didn't. This article didn't come out until today, I believe, or I didn't see it till today. I wished I'd have done this on Red on Friday, which is Remember Everyone Deployed. But it's Monday, so I'm going to do it anyway. Chief Gallagher is a part of a group of either 9/11 or post 9/11 war fighters. And what I mean by that is those of us that were in the military on the day of the attacks, 9/11, 18 years ago, whatever. And those of us are those who joined the military because of 9/11, usually shortly after or as soon as they could, depending on their age. If you were in the military, hey, Josh Laverty, what's up, man? I see you checked in there. I hope you're watching right now. I'd love to hear your comments on this one. Josh Laverty is a Marine that I served with on the East Coast, okay? And he's still in the Marine Corps, so I'm glad he checked in. I hope he stays around. I hope he's listening to this. If he is, Lav, if you get a chance, maybe, do you know anything about the history of Eddy Gallagher? I almost 100% sure he was at Camp Lejeune during our early days, but I'm not 100% sure if that was as a corpsman for the Navy or if he was a former Marine that got out and joined the Navy. I read this somewhere, I'm not really sure. Going back to what I was saying, okay, if for those who were in the Marine Corps, in the military on 9/11, 2001, and those who joined shortly after, these are guys who have been at war for 18 years, possibly. Their entire lives. I mean, you think about it. If a guy joins, when he's 18 years old, maybe on September 12th of 2001, or maybe he was already in, like I was, like Laverty was, like a lot of these guys were. And they're still in, like Laverty. I'm not, but there's a lot of guys who are still in. Chief Gallagher was one of them. Then they have been at war most of their lives, at least all of their adult lives. They have been at war. We're talking almost 2 decades of their lives they have been at war. And we have forgotten this. We have forgotten this. We think that the lack of repeat attacks to the magnitude of September 11th, we don't either. Most of us are too young to even remember them. A lot of people are too young to remember them. I say most of us. I'm not too old. I'm not too young to remember them. I was in the Marine Corps on that day. I was training on that day. So I definitely remember. But there's a lot of young people who don't remember, or who weren't maybe even around, or they were too young to remember. But those of us, and for that, there's an excuse. But I will say this: for those of us that were there, that were in the military, that were old enough, this is inexcusable. It is inexcusable that we have sat here and kept our mouth shut. Now, I understand that there are those of us who are still in the military and they can't say, they're limited to what they can say or do, which is another point I'm going to talk about Chief Gallagher here in a second. But I want us to remember that there are still warriors, warfighters, defenders of freedom, American effing heroes that have been serving since 9/11, the 9/11, okay? 2001 is what I'm talking about. And we have forgotten this. That is the context of everything else I'm about to say. So without getting too deep into Chief Gallagher's situation, as far as the backstory of it, he was fighting ISIS. Now let me talk about ISIS for a second. Because after September 11th, it was all Al-Qaeda. It was Al-Qaeda. They're the ones who attacked us. They're the ones who orchestrated this event. They killed over 2,000 Americans. People do not remember. But when we came out of the field, 23 years, 7 months and counting. Josh Laverty, thanks, buddy. 23 years, 7 months and counting. That service right there. Okay, thank you, Josh. Me and Laverty, we served together in 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, and he's continuing to serve this country, and that's awesome. And but we have forgotten that this is going on. I didn't even realize that I still had friends and brothers who were still in. I thought everybody had gotten out by now, but I've still got brothers who are serving our country, our republic, our Constitution to this day, and have been there since my day or even before me. That's amazing. That's amazing. But we've forgotten this. Now, this guy was part of a SEAL team, like so many SEALs and Marines and soldiers and other sailors and you name it, airmen, everyone, okay, who have been fighting this war since its beginnings, okay, since its conception, since those planes flew into 2 buildings filled with innocent Americans, and we had to watch them burn to death or choose to jump to their deaths. That's the context of what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not emotional with the subject because this is like the background, but I'm not emotional with Chief Gallagher because I don't know the man, never met him. All right, Josh is with 3-8 now. Roger that. I was with 3-2. I got out. When I got out, I was with 1-8. So 8th Marine Regiment. If you don't know who 8th Marine Regiment's got a proud history, you should look it up. Even recently, recent history, they've done a lot. All right. I mean, the Battle of Fallujah, most people who don't know anything about the military are familiar with Fallujah. Maybe you're familiar with Beirut. Okay. This is 8th Marines. It's got a rich history there. So Josh is still serving. That's freaking awesome. So this is the context. ISIS made Al-Qaeda look like a bunch of quite frankly, bitches as far as their violence. Now, I'm talking about to the media. I'm talking about to what people are saying. I'm not talking about what happened in Iraq. Al-Qaeda in Iraq, Al-Qaeda has done some grotesque stuff, okay? I don't even know everything they've done. Al-Qaeda was rough, okay? They got their asses handed to them in Iraq by 8th Marines and other units. But Al-Qaeda, we had Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and then out of those ashes and out of, Syria and Iraq came ISIS. And a lot of people out there don't remember who the effing ISIS is. But if you think back to the days, okay, the American reporter who had his head chopped off by Jihadi John. Who remembers Jihadi John? That was that masked coward. The dude wearing the wannabe ninja mask on international television, who basically threw his finger up at the United States and instead of fighting us, grabbed a man off the street who had, I don't even know if he'd ever even fired a gun. This wasn't exactly a warrior. This was a reporter. This was some American out there just trying to make a difference through media. All right, captured him, captures other Americans and British, and then proceeded to decapitate them on television. This is the same group that burnt people alive on television, all right, in a cage, set them on fire, for those that remember that. All right, this group is the most brutal. Imagine if that was your son. I watched the documentary where the mother of one of the journalists decapitated by ISIS. I watched her interview on television. The horror in her voice that she has to relive every day of her life. Her son had done nothing. He wasn't even a soldier. And this man pointed a knife at the television screen, not her son, Jihadi John, this ISIS propagandist, all right, who's dead, by the way. He pointed his knife at the television, and then after just a bunch of freaking him running his mouth, he proceeded to slowly, guys, it was horrible. He decapitated this young man. This is the type of people, these are the ISIS fighters we're talking about. I hear terms on television used by media, ISIS detainees. All right, screw detainees. ISIS and those who get on board with ISIS deserve everything they get. Bottom line, you either believe in good and evil or you don't. This is evil. Now, I understand that there are people out there, there's perceptions and, all this kind of stuff. I understand all that, but I'm telling you right now, this is pure evil. And that is who we have had Marines and soldiers and airmen, specifically, units like the Marine Corps, like the Ranger Battalions, the SEAL teams. Specifically, those types of units have been out there on the forefront of this, killing these guys before they can come to America and kill us. And I realize that that's a cliche these days, that most people scoff when someone says we're out there fighting it in their backyard so it doesn't come to our backyard. But that's only said mostly by people who don't remember what it feels like, what it looks like to have it happen in your own backyard. People who don't understand what it's going to be like if it happens in your own backyard. I got news for you, and listen to me. These murderers, they plan all the time. They're constantly planning and preparing to murder Americans. They want nothing more than to come here to places like your hometown and kill Americans. They want to do it. They are coming to the realization that they can do it that today with social media and with the outlets they have, that it really doesn't matter whether they go to a big city or a small town, because the coverage is going to be the same. The results are going to be the same. All right? They want to come here and murder. They want to do the same things that they did to people in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. They want to do that here. They've done it before. We've just forgotten. So who is Chief Gallagher? Eddy Gallagher is a Navy SEAL who was fighting ISIS. And he's a little bit of an old school guy. I brought up his history because he's an old school guy. He went back a few years. Okay? He went back a few years. Now, I don't know what the dynamics of his platoon were. I don't know what his situation with his men was. You hear things, you hear rumors that he did this, that he did that. You hear rumors that his team didn't like him because he was too tough, or his team didn't like him because he was, a psychopath or whatever, yada, 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 yada. Okay? Whatever. Here's the bottom line. The evidence wasn't there. All right? The man killed an ISIS fighter. Or he shot an ISIS fighter, or his team shot an ISIS fighter, and that ISIS fighter died. There was no evidence that he murdered anybody. He was acquitted. In the story, he was acquitted. No matter what you believe, here's what I got to say about you. I said that I didn't know the guy. I don't know the guy. I don't know Eddy Gallagher. Watch this. I've never been in the SEAL teams, and watch this. I've never even been in the Navy. So what do I think about Eddy Gallagher? It doesn't matter what I think, because I don't know shit about it. I don't know him. I don't know his teammates. I don't know. All I know is this. He was acquitted of the charges that were levied against him. So until there's something besides that, that's the end of the story. Now, he was found guilty on something that would, I guess the best way to explain it would be unbecoming conduct. All right, he took a picture with, like, I think maybe his whole team or squad or whatever, with a dead ISIS guy. Now, here's where I can have an opinion. Do I have a problem with that? Nope. Nope. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. My old platoon, not the members that I was with at the time, but that platoon name, some guys got in trouble in Afghanistan that were members of the same platoon I was in back in me and Laverty's early days. They got in trouble for urinating on a dead, I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? Taliban fighter, and taking a picture. Would I have told them not to do that? Yeah. I would have told them not to do that. Do I have a personal problem with that? Not at all. Not at all. They're evil. Screw them. These are people who murdered Americans. They decapitated a man on television. They burned a man alive on television. They throw people off roofs because they don't agree with their sexual orientation or their religious beliefs. If you actually believe that you're standing up for the rights and of those who are different than you, with different religious beliefs or different sexual orientations or different whatever, if you actually are someone who believes that you're standing up for those rights and you support these murderers, then you're supporting people who kill the type of people that you claim to stand up for. So no, I don't have a problem with Eddy Gallagher taking a picture, him and his squad, with a dead ISIS murderer. And yeah, I'm going to say murderer. I'm not going to say detainee. I'm not going to say detainee. If you put that flag up, if you wave the flag of ISIS, the flag that represents absolute overt, I mean, they're not hiding it. They're telling you we're going to do this to your children. This is an organization in their propaganda telling you we're going to come to the West and we're going to murder your children. We're going to murder your families. And they wave that flag. You stand under that flag, then you deserve everything you get. Absolutely. So I don't know Eddy Gallagher. But that's what this is all about. The Secretary of the Navy was fired by the Secretary of Defense for allegedly a lot of shit that I don't know anything about. But basically, they're saying, here's what he was fired for. Okay? Here's probably the gist of it. And this is my belief. This is my opinion. He was fired because he was in charge of the Navy. The president got involved while this Eddy Gallagher thing was going on, and the president didn't like the way that he handled, or the Navy handled Chief Gallagher's trial, the whole investigation, and everything that's come after it. The way they have attacked his reputation, yada yada. I don't know. So I don't know what the Navy's doing. I wasn't in the Navy, but I'll tell you this right now: this whole Eddy Gallagher investigation was screwed up from the start. Even if you believe that he's guilty, it was screwed up from the start. All right, Do I think the president should have been involved? No, I don't. Do I think that Chief Gallagher should be able to stand there and criticize his command while he's still in the Navy? He probably shouldn't, but here's the thing. After such a screwed up investigation has happened, and after his name was tarnished before the evidence even come out, before the trial, and he was run through the ringer, I think he has a right to come up, to stand up and defend and tell his side of the story at this point. You know, if the Navy is going to walk around and handle the crap the way they handle it, they can't get pissed off when the president gets involved and when Chief Gallagher gets on television and says things he says and tells his side of the story. As a man, he has a right to do that. He's earned the right to do that. He's had over 20 years of actually defending this country. We give that title to we give those words to a lot of people. We give a lot of people credit for defending this country that, quite frankly, I'll say it, because I'm a veteran, they really hadn't done anything but sat behind a desk. Now, that's honorable service, but compared to someone, anything in uniform is honorable. If you wear the flag, it's honorable. But if you compare that service to a guy who's been out there at the tip of the spear with his life in absolute direct danger most of his life, and even direct danger in training, you're crazy. It's not the same thing. Service is honorable no matter what you do. Absolutely. But when your life is in danger all of the time, whether you're in combat operations or whether you're even in training, some of the most dangerous training you can imagine are the guys that do this type of work. Marines, SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, you name it. These are guys that have a job that even when they're not in combat, in fact, some of the most dangerous shit that they do is preparing for combat. All right, this is a guy who spent his entire life, like my friend Laverty, who's watching right now, spent his entire life, 23 years and 7 months. That's his adult. He's given his adult years to this country. And yes, I think under those circumstances, when the Navy is screwed up to such an extent that the president has to get involved, and the president has a right to get involved. You can say what you want. You know, it's not, you know, he shouldn't have to get involved, but he has a right to get involved. He's the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief of all forces of the military. He is the ultimate commander. He has more right than anyone else to get involved. Everyone doesn't like it because he's getting involved. Look, there was a time when the president wouldn't know about something like this unless it went all the way up to his desk. That's the difference we're looking at. We're in a day and age where this right here, where social media, where everyone has a public platform. It's up to you how big it is. And we're in a day and age where everything can become public really fast. Really fast. So in our history, if this had existed throughout history, the presidents would have been involved in a lot of stuff. They haven't been involved because they didn't know about these things. But because the president knew about it, he got involved. All right? I don't like it. I think it's a problem for people in the Navy who are charged later on because not everyone's going to get the president's response. The president's it's not always going to be this president. This president may not respond. You may not. Look, there's an expectation set there and there's a bar set there that I don't like. I don't like it when it comes to this. But at the same time, if Eddy Gallagher was my brother, if he was my son, if he was my father, I would be very thankful the president got involved because anyone in the military knows that this was screwed up from the beginning. I don't know what Gallagher did and what he didn't do on that day. Don't know, because I wasn't there. And neither were you, and neither was anyone else. You weren't there. All right? You have teammates saying he did this. You have teammates saying he didn't do that. We don't know. Everyone has a motive. We don't know. But the bottom line is the Navy levied charges against him, put him in jail, took him to trial, took him to court-martial, and he was acquitted by his peers. Now, for those of you who don't know how the military justice system works, let me assure you, you don't have the benefit of having a bunch of random people on the jury that don't know anything about you or your job or what your life is. You're judged by your peers. They're not just random people on some list, on your jury duty list who are from all walks of life. You're talking about a panel of men and women in uniform that understand as much as they possibly can about what you do without actually doing it, and some of them may have done it. I don't know who was on his. I don't know who was on his jury. Basically, I don't know who was on that. I don't know if there were any SEALs on that. I don't know but I do know one thing: they were all military. They were all wearing a uniform because that's the way the military justice system works. So when he was put on trial in front of a panel of his peers, people who were in the military serving right then, he was acquitted of the charges. That's all that matters. If we start saying that if we don't accept that, then we've thrown away the entire military discipline. We've thrown away the entire system. And if we don't, I mean, guys, he was acquitted. It should be over. Now, as far as his Trident goes, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, so once he was acquitted of the murder charge, which I think was ridiculous. I don't see how you murder a murderer, but whatever. I mean, I know there are circumstances where that could be the case, but we're not talking about an American citizen here. We're talking about someone who wants nothing more than to come to this country and chop your head off, my family's head off. That's who we're talking about. And don't feed me a bunch of bullshit about, well, he may not have understood it from his perspective, blah, 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 crap from his perspective. All right, everyone who fights under the ISIS flag knows exactly what they're doing. You can pull that shit with me with Taliban. You can pull that shit with me with Iraqi insurgents. You can pull that shit with me with other places where I have to say, okay, maybe in this case I see what you're saying and you could be right. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they're fighting under the ISIS flag, they know exactly what they're doing. 100% what they're doing. That's who he was accused of murdering. I don't believe he did it, and neither did his jury believe he did it. Okay, he was acquitted of all charges. Now, not of all charges. He got charged with taking a picture, an American warrior taking a picture with somebody who was trying to kill him, his team, and if they could destroy everybody in a way who would come to America and kill us. I don't have a problem with taking a picture, and I don't care. If you have a problem with me not having a problem with that, I don't care. All right, I don't think the man did anything wrong. All right, bottom line. So the Navy, when they didn't win the trial against him, then they went for his Trident. What is this Trident? What am I talking about? In the Marine Corps, we have what you call an Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. All right, which is what you earn the day you become a Marine. There are other units out there within branches, even the Marine Corps has one, where you earn an insignia, which is even above and beyond maybe what that is to you. So what an example of that would be. All right, so in the Marine Corps, you earned the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. Let's say you join the Marine Special Operations Command, you become a Marine Raider, and then you earn their insignia. I don't even know what it's called. I'll call it a Raider insignia. Okay? You earn a Raider insignia. So that's pretty important. I don't believe that would be I guess it's a difference of opinion. The Eagle, Globe, and Anchor has a lot of history behind it. Okay? The Raider insignia is pretty new. So I can't imagine a world where the Raider insignia, no matter how special and awesome it is, would be more valuable than the history of the entire Marine Corps and the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. I can't imagine. The Marine Corps' Eagle, Globe, and Anchor is very old, okay? And it's our most prized emblem. It means everything to us as a Marine. I can't imagine that being taken away from me and someone saying you're not a Marine anymore. Even though I'm out of the Marine Corps, that would be devastating for for the Marine Corps to take that from me. Eddy Gallagher is a Navy SEAL. The Navy SEAL Special Warfare Trident is the most coveted special operations insignia in the military, probably. Okay, maybe the Green Beret may be up there, right above or below it. I don't know. But as far as popularity, I would say the two most popular, most well-known emblems of a special forces or a SOF unit would be the Green Beret and a Navy SEAL Trident. All right, I would just say that out loud. And those that would be the equivalent to the branch insignia, the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor of the Marine Corps. That would probably be the most coveted branch insignia. What I'm saying is these things identify you. So whether you're a Ranger or a SEAL or airborne or a soldier, whatever you are, everyone knows what this is. And for the Navy to go after his SEAL insignia, to tell him that everything he had done for the last 20 years didn't matter anymore, even after he was acquitted of it, that is utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. and it's because they didn't win the trial? Am I wrong? If someone knows something about this, let me know. But Chief Gallagher, a 20-year SEAL, someone who, like myself, was serving on the day of 9/11, who remembers where we were training on that day, the day the war started. He has been fighting for his country since that day, or since the day he enlisted, most of his life. Okay, most of his life. My friend Josh Laverty, who's watching, he has been serving his country and fighting for his country most of his life. Since before I joined, he was in the Marine Corps before me, and 23 years and 7 months later, he's still in the Marine Corps. And the thought of someone like him being accused of a war crime for killing the enemy, and then them trying to take an Eagle Globe anchor away from him for taking a photograph, though it's, I'm sure he would get in, whatever. I'm sure he'd get in some trouble. But I'm saying the thought of them trying to tell him that he was not a Marine anymore, it appalls me. We're losing our warrior culture. So there are some places that you can go to help support Chief Gallagher. And by supporting Chief Gallagher, you're not just supporting him, you're supporting the combating a mentality that is occurring. It's already occurred in society, and now it's eating its way into our military. Society can get away with a lot. The military cannot. We live in a world where there is an actual threat, whether you want to admit it or not, of evil people trying to kill innocent people, Americans. We live in a world where there are people in other countries, some of them with honor, some of them with no honor, that are all training to fight America. As far as I'm concerned, they're all the bad guys. But you have some doing it with honor, and you have some doing it without honor. That is a fact. We are not out of the woods as far as world wars, as far as combat. We've been in a war for 20 years, and we are now. Pay attention to the world right now. There are enemies rising up right in front of us, and we are on witch hunts in our warrior cultures. It's unreal. Now, do I believe that the military and soldiers and sailors never has a free ticket to do what they want? Absolutely not. But there is a system that governs that, and it is not civilians. All right? There is a system. The military has its law. It has its courts. All right? The military takes care of this. So that's why I say I don't like the idea that the president had to get involved. I don't think it's good for the Navy. I don't think it's good for the military. I don't think any of that's good for. But I'm going to tell you something else. The way the Navy handled this was not good for the Navy or the military. So this is some bad stuff, and I don't think we realize what type of impact this could have. But the answer to sweeping up and hiding our garbage and our dirty laundry is not to throw Chief Gallagher under the bus, because once that's done, then the door's open, and now we're going to start treating our warriors like trash. We're just going to start throwing them out. Whenever we're done with them, we don't like the way they act, we don't like something they did, we just throw them out. And there's people that will argue that that's always been the case, that we've always done that. That we've broken glass in time of war, and then after the war was over with, we did our best to throw them away. I don't know. I didn't have that experience, thank God. But I think that mentality, which tends to kind of creep up when current political situations do, like that we are today. When we have a divided country, when we have a tremendous amount of anti-Americanism, because if I say anti-nationalism, then people say, well, you're just talking about anti-racism. No, nationalism in its true definition, not racism, just putting your country first. In a day and age where putting your country first becomes wrong, okay, then whenever we enter phases like this, like in Vietnam, and places where putting your country first becomes an issue, becomes when you start being accused of being a racist, when you start being accused of being this evil person because you believe in your country, because you support your country, because you love your country, when the word patriot and all these things becomes a curse word, becomes an insult, then we start seeing slowly where the anti-military stuff and attacking, and not just military, law enforcement. This stuff starts creeping in, and we start painting the people who serve our country with this evil stroke. And it's always hidden. Well, we're just going after this guy. And that's not the case most of the time. It's not the case. This guy, you turn out, you look at the facts, you look at the case, that person didn't do anything wrong. They may have done something tragic. Hey, look, it's tragic that we have to go across the world and kill people for this country. It's tragic that we have to do that, but it has to be done because they came here and killed us first. That's the world we live in. It's tragic. War is tragic. Okay, violence is tragic. But unfortunately, we live in a violent world. So you have to determine what side you're going to be on. Are you going to be on the side that protects the innocent, that stands up for freedom, that protects people? Are you going to stand up? Are you going to support the side that throws people from roofs whenever they don't agree with their religious or sexual beliefs? Are you going to be on the side that forces women into absolute, just tyranny because they don't believe? I mean, what side are you going to be on? Or are you just going to ignore that this stuff happens? You're going to pretend that innocent people aren't murdered every day. Are you going to pretend that? Like, that's what you're doing. Now, I have said from the beginning, this is a show where I embrace people of differences and different opinions. If you have a different opinion, I want to hear from you. Okay? But go back through the rules. Read my rules. I make my stances very clear. Okay? Read my rules. And you'll read one that says something very similar to be kind and respectful, but never be taken for being weak. All right, I believe in diplomacy. I think you should take a couple steps back, or take a step back when you can, for the sake of peace, to talk. But don't take 2 steps back. If your opponent takes 2 steps at you, you knock them out. You hit them with everything you have, because they do not intend to talk to you. They do not intend to work things out. They do not intend to listen to you. They don't want to understand you. They just want to destroy you or destroy your voice. All right, so that's what I got worked up about. Like I said, I don't know Chief Gallagher. Never met the man. As far as I remember, I do believe he was in Camp Lejeune at the same time I was. I don't remember meeting him, but if he was with 2nd Marines, either as a former Marine or a corpsman, and I'll look that up and I'll give a like a correction to that on the next time I'm on. I'll give some history on that, because I really never, I don't know. But I may have met him. I don't know. But as far as I know, I've never met the man. I know I've never been in the SEAL teams, and I know I've never been in the Navy. So my opinion about what happened that day, or how they policed their own, or how they deal with it, is completely worthless. And it was worthless up until the trial. And after the trial was over and he was acquitted, then this continued persistence to have the last word, to win. Well, we couldn't convict him, so we'll just take his Trident from him. It's ridiculous. Leave the man alone. Let him retire. Chief Gallagher put in his retirement papers for November 30th. I hope to God we let the man retire with honor, with a flag, and with a Trident that he deserves, unless someone can prove me otherwise. Now, if you can prove to me otherwise that he was a murderer and psychopath, if you can prove that to me, first I would say don't prove it to me. There's no point in it. Prove it to the Navy, the judicial system, which tried him. Which I guess I don't know how that would work. But I'm saying the point is that's already been attempted, and it didn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, he's innocent. I don't know the man, don't know the situation. If someone knows something I don't, then good on you. But as far as I'm concerned, he's innocent, and we need to leave him alone. And I would say the same thing for anybody that I've ever worked with, or for anyone who has worn the flag, or whatever it is. Leave him alone. Okay? So I hope that Chief Gallagher, I wish him the best in his retirement, and I hope that he can get away from this nightmare. And I would thank him and his family for his service, as I would thank everyone for their service. And And I know I didn't say enough of this on Friday, but to Joshua Laverty, my friend who's still serving, to other friends like Joe Hockett who are still serving, to guys I know that are still serving, God bless you. Thank you for your continued service, over 20 years of it. It's amazing to me. You guys have my utmost respect, and I hope you guys stay safe, and everyone out there, stay rogue. We'll see you guys later.